radio. Clock ticking, energy spiking, lights strobing, countdown, rolling, head exploding, keep it going. Busting through the stream like a caffeine craze. Flurry Sports Show, bound to set your screen ablaze. Get loud, wake the crowd, don't snooze on this June. Flurry crew coming soon, in like a typhoon. Second string, hold tight, wild winds start to zoom. Brace yourself, the Flurry Sports Show starts soon.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to not necessarily the ranking show, but we're doing some NFL mock drafting tonight. It's been a while. First of the season for us. We always have a pretty extensive draft coverage. If you go to FlurrySports.org, you can read a bunch of draft profiles, even more coming soon. I have one mock draft on there immediately after the combine. The plan is for next Monday to have the next mock draft up there, and a lot of big changes, a lot of different signings. Obviously, we have more pro day results and stuff like that. We got Restrepo crawling a 40-yard dash. We have Milroe, fucking just, he's insane. He's so fast. So we have a bunch more data. We got players moving in and out all over the case, and it's going to change a lot of things from draft purposes. So far, every team still has their own first-round pick, though, which is awesome. A rarity. It's really cool, and we'll see if that holds up. I have no idea. But Luke Reimer's in the middle, Trevor Land on the right. I'm Zach Bruner. Just noticed our names aren't up, but that's our names. You know who we are at this point. And if you have any questions, any comments to chime in, definitely jump in the chat and let us know. Like I said, everybody's got their pick. So let us know who you want your favorite team to pick. I would like to know.
Yeah.
I truly want to know, like, if for your specific fan base, like, what do you think is the biggest need? Because everybody can, like, I can tell you what I think the Bears need. I can tell you what I think the Patriots need. If you're a fan of the team, you know, we talk about this all the time. Like, Packers fans know that team inside and out. We know number 52 and 53 on the roster, where you went to school. We know all of that. So if you are a diehard of your team, I would definitely like your input on our draft. But Luke, you said you have something to kick us off before we jump into the mock draft. As we wait for more people to come in here.
Yeah. Before we really get into the NFL stuff, I just want to talk about some college stuff real quick. And I guess this kind of goes I guess I don't follow college football as much, but just in terms of college basketball news going on right now, right? The transfer portal just kind of opened, right? Players are starting to enter. Crazy that it happens in the middle of the NCAA tournament, right?
Same thing with college football.
Yeah, but something that I heard, I forget who said that this morning. I was listening to a podcast, whatever. But there's a team Villanova right now does not have a coach. I think they're waiting on
They do
Willard.
now.
Oh, did they sign someone?
Richard Pitino. Willard's staying at Maryland. He's going to be a top 10 coach.
Okay, so my point still stands though. They were in the running for Kevin Willard, right, from Maryland. I think someone had asked him about it, and he didn't seem to really answer it that much. Let's say that the Villanova spot is still open and the transfer portal opened on Monday. How is Villanova getting anybody that's in the transfer portal as they're waiting on their coach to move on? It's just such an odd system. I know that the NCAA is, not the greatest thing of all time, but it doesn't make any sense. And I guess it kind of works in the NFL too, right? Like on Black Monday when coaches get fired, right? We had Ben Johnson with the Lions, right? He already had his job and he was still coaching. It's just such a weird thing to open the new season while the same season is still going on.
It's terrible. It makes no sense for anybody. It's especially terrible for the kids. But I'm interested to see in college specifically, that for sure has to get changed, right? Like the schedule has to get changed. But we're seeing more and more schools implement a general manager for their program, specifically like sports-specific program. I'm interested to see what the turnover is going to be between general manager and head coach. Like if there's a head coach firing or they move, like how often does the general manager move with them or get fired and stuff like that as well? Because the general manager is going to have to do a bunch of recruiting anyways. So and I don't know anything about Villanova's program really, if they have a general manager in place already, I wonder if they're still able to bring in a bunch of recruits, but it's still hard to, say, hey, come play for our program just because we are who we are. Who knows who's coming in? I talk about Greg Gard all the time. He was like Bo Ryan's lead recruiter. really easy to recruit when you say, hey, come play for Bo Ryan.
Right.
Now when he's the head coach, it's come play for me. It's a little harder to sell that too.
Right. Like, of course, just talking about the NCAA tournament, of course, you're in it to win, right? Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. But like it's almost like if you're a school like St. Mary's, it's almost more beneficial to kind of, you're not going to win the tournament. You might as well lose first round and stack all these guys and try to win, 4 years from now.
Unfortunately, not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think the worst thing about this, we know the NCAA is clueless. I mean, this tells you that they're completely in over their head. They don't even know where to start because I mean, this is the easiest fix. If you talk about college football, like boom, just all you have to do just move the time till after national championship game. That's it.
Yeah.
College basketball. Move it till after. Like that's the easiest fix. So the fact that they haven't done it yet tells me they don't know what they're doing or they're completely over their head, and that tells me that we're not going to get any NIL changes for the foreseeable future.
I don't there has to be a reason. My guess for the timing is just going through like the year in my head. I wonder if it's after the national championship, like the student athlete is coming first, right? Like they have to transfer before the next semester.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Theoretically.
So if it's after the national championship, it could be too late. That might be the reason, which sucks.
Yeah. On top of that, you get teams like look at Florida Atlantic. They made the Final Four 2 years ago. Their whole starting lineup is still in the tournament, just not on Florida Atlantic. Their coach is still like these, and I'm all for the transfer portal. I'm all for players going to get their money, doing whatever. But you get teams like FAU that's basically just a feeder to big schools, like San Diego State. Brian Dutcher is recruited incredibly there, and he's losing all his players. He gets 30 games with them, and that's it. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, that's why I think we need contracts in some extent. Like I saw something about Dutcher at San Diego State. He recruited this guy. He was there for 4 years. Nobody else wanted him. He was a 0-star. Suddenly Duke comes to knock and he goes to Duke. I don't completely blame the player, but I understand you can't have complete and utter loyalty, but like these guys that are transferring one school a year, stop it. Like it's so ridiculous.
It feels pretty easy to just say first contract, no matter what's a 2-year contract.
Right.
Like, and even if you do 2-year, 1 year, if they stay for the 5th year, I feel like that's fine. But for sure, it should be a 2-year contract for freshman, sophomore, especially like they're underclassmen. They may not play. If they're super good, then they're still tied to their school. Like, It seems we're going to get more information over the next month or two because they're going to have to actually decide on that a little bit. But yeah, there's so many basic, easy changes that need to be in place. And it feels like, I mean, we talked about on the FlurrySports podcast a little bit. They went into this wild, wild west of NIL kind of with the point of view of we want this to fail. But so they had no parameters. So many people got screwed over. But now at the same time, you can't backtrack. Like, could you imagine taking away NIL? It would be, it's not even possible.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to fucking catch up with the times now.
And I think yeah, I agree 100%. I guess kind of playing devil's advocate, but I kind of agree with this. Like with the NIL and transfer portal and all this, like there's a lot of things to point at. Like this is wrong. Like these lower schools are never going to win because everyone's going to go to Duke, everyone's going to go to Kansas or whatever. But then you get guys like the prime example is Dalton Knecht coming from Northern Colorado and being the best player in the country on Tennessee and getting, an NBA contract. He's going to be in the NBA for 15 years now because of it. Janai Broome coming from Morehead State. He's going to be player of the year at Auburn. Like that's the cool part of it. I don't know what the balance is to keep that involved. I don't know that's possible, but I don't know. It's an interesting system that feels like it's not going to be perfected for like 50 years.
No.
Well, another part that's interesting too is for all the Connect stories, you have the people doing the exact opposite. Like I'm big in on Houston. Tremont Mark was a huge player for Houston for 3 years, and he transfers to Texas clearly for the money. They're out. He was a star player, yeah, but I mean, he's got no chance of going pro now.
Yeah, I mean, look. Look at the same thing with Jeremy Roach. He put in 4 incredible years at Duke, and he goes to Baylor just to get 30 balled by Duke in the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, it's a business decision. There's going to be some scouts who say it doesn't matter. There's going to be some scouts who say it does matter. Time will tell. We need to have sort of a a recipe in place here. We need sort of proof to see what happens. It's a mess. It sucks. Something will change. We shall see. But for now, let's talk about NFL draft. And there's a lot of people who have transferred, played a couple years, but I think for the most part, a lot of the people going in the first round have stuck with their teams. Let's just jump into it. And tonight we're going to be using Pro Football Focus Mock Draft Simulator. We will do just the first round. I kind of just want to see what Pro Football Focus has by default to start here. So I'm just going to simulate quickly, once I get over to it, what Pro Football Focus has for a first round mock draft. And then we'll give them Pierce. And then we'll just analyze this first, and then we'll do our own, which will be much better than this. I can guarantee it. Okay. So they have 1, 2, Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, then Travis Hunter at 3. That's, somewhat likely now. They have Genty going 4th overall to the Patriots. I can tell you that's not going to happen.
That'd be fun.
It'd be something. Mason Graham at 5. I like that. Will Campbell 6. That's not bad. Membo 7. Abdul Carter, I guess, going all the way to 8th is interesting. Otherwise, what else stands out here, I guess?
The Bears going with McMillan.
Yeah, I guess the Bears don't need another wide receiver. I guess I wouldn't be surprised, but not a good pick for sure.
Houston forming the best running back duo with Joe Mixon and Marion Hampton.
True, yeah. Texans don't have anyone on the offensive line, but they go running back anyway.
Lions bolstering their offensive lineup even more with Kelvin Banks.
That's going to be needed. They need a guard for sure. So I don't hate that. Bills taking a 3rd tight end with Loveland. That's a good idea for sure.
I'm just looking as I'm falling in love with the Jaden Daniels Luther Burden connection.
Yeah, true. That'd be fun. Like Buka going with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans would be fun. Steelers getting another edge rusher.
Hell yeah.
Needed. Okay, I mean, yeah. All of this, there's some interesting ones. There's some that make sense. Overall, where did they end up having? They had Starks at 22. Yeah, that feels early to me. But I guess we'll see. I would put them more in this range, the 30 through 32, if that. But yeah, okay. Let's just jump into our own because it's interesting. And again, we'll just draft it straight up. Obviously, there's going to be trades. Maybe we'll do that after this. But we'll talk through some of the latest NFL news as those teams pop up as well. But yeah, Luke?
I have a question real quick right off the bat. Maybe because negligent on my part for I've been, into college basketball. I've been getting into some baseball. So I've been kind of putting NFL draft to the wayside. How is my guy, Tyleik Williams from Ohio State? Is he a first-round guy?
No, I wouldn't think so.
All right.
We'll see. We'll look at the end to just see what his ADP is on here, but no. I wouldn't think so. So first overall pick, Titans. I'm still not fully sold that the Titans take this pick themselves. They said a month ago at this point, maybe a little more than a month ago, that if there's a generational talent at first overall pick, they're going to take them, and they think there is one. And I don't see that being Cam Ward. Like I just, he's a good player. He's not a generational talent though. He's for sure not.
No,
agreed. I love Travis Hunter. I think Travis Hunter is maybe Abdul Carter is the best player in this draft by far, right?
Yeah. But I mean, so I think Abdul Carter is a generational talent. Travis Hunter is a generational talent. I think it's those two. There's other very good players, but I don't think there's any doubt Cam Ward's going number 1. So I'm wondering if the Browns trade up to number 1. I'm wondering if the Raiders trade up to number 1. Giants now seemingly will not need to do that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think Cam Ward's a lock for number 1. I don't know about you guys.
Agreed.
Okay. Who knows which team? Okay, number 2. So the Browns have been flirting with Russell Wilson a little bit, but just recently, as of like an hour ago, Russell Wilson signs with the Giants. That means he forms a quarterback duo with Jameis Wilson, which is one of the more I don't know, they're like positive, weird movie like quarterback vibes in that locker room. But I don't see the Giants rostering 3 quarterbacks, at least 2
Right.
very obvious veteran, solid players and a rookie. That doesn't make sense. So I think the Giants are out on quarterbacks, and I think the Browns very much are in on a rookie quarterback now. So I think Shadur feels pretty definite here to me.
Yeah, they have to go quarterback.
They have to. I was wondering before if they would pair Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett to form that duo, which would be insane. And then also it's kind of a security plan if they want to trade Myles Garrett. But they're kind of in a position they have to go court. They don't have anything. They have Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would love, that's the first thing I thought when I saw, Titans going Cam Ward. Carter and Garrett would be insane. But to your point, like, you do need quarterback here, and they haven't signed anybody. Like, you can't start Kenny Pickett. So if I was them, I would have gone Carter and gotten a free agent quarterback, but that's clearly not what they're doing here.
I'm not ruling it out. They could go Kenny Pickett and then take like a Will Howard or something, maybe, but because they have enough other issues, I suppose. And if they like trade down, like the Browns need draft picks as well. So it's certainly a trade down spot if the Raiders are really itching to get up. But boy, Browns need an answer.
Is there any possibility, any way, or any thought of going with Pickett or any other quarterback? Maybe they still are making a push for Kirk Cousins or something to take Ted McMillan here.
They won't go McMillan, but I think there's a chance that the Browns start Kenny Pickett, and Cousins would be tough because the Falcons would have to eat so much money, and they feel pretty unwilling to do that. Is it possible? Yes. They almost would need, and again, this is definitely possible, they would need Kirk Cousins to force his way into being cut, and then do a Russell Wilson thing like he did last year, or sign for $2 million. Because Deshaun Watson's almost definitely not playing for their team ever again, much less next season. So right now it's Kenny Pickett and nobody. They even traded away Dorian Thompson-Robinson for Kenny Pickett. So he is out of the
least of a trade.
I don't know. I think Kenny Pickett's better than Thompson-Robinson.
That's what I mean for the Browns.
Okay.
Great trade for the Browns.
Yeah. Boy, what a bad football. What a great preseason football player. And so terrible in the regular season. But I think here, whether the Browns trade down or they don't, again, I think it's probably Shadur.
Yeah. UCLA's too prestigious. I guess they're not really prestigious for football, but too big of a name to have to send out Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Josh Rosen, and Brett Hundley as like their most recent notable quarterbacks.
That's true. Especially when you have Chip Kelly there for a minute.
Right.
Got to do something. Okay, so now, like I said, Russell Wilson signs with the Giants. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston.
I'm sorry.
That's going to be interesting to see who starts.
I'm sorry. Just to talk about the Browns and Shedeur Sanders one more time. There's no chance Dion is letting Shedeur go to the Browns, right?
I mean, he just said multiple times, like today and yesterday, that he is.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
So I think it's fine. I think he'll go. I think people overestimate the power Dion has.
For sure.
Like Dion likes to talk. But like, he doesn't say anything. I like Dion, but
love Dion.
He is what he is. And by the way, Shedeur goes to Cleveland. They suck. They fire Stefanski. Who's the next head coach?
Yeah.
Dion. So, I mean, it's shaping up fine there as well. But so now the Giants have no need for a quarterback, and it's between Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. I don't think they necessarily need the edge rusher. So it feels like Travis Hunter is an obvious play here, and they need corner. They need a complementary receiver to Malik Neighbors. So I think he's a part-time offensive player, full-time defensive player. This like fits super well for Giants and Travis Hunter, I think, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think after last year's Hard Knocks, where he kind of got embarrassed by his kids saying just basically, for the love of God, take Jaden Daniels, Travis Hunter's on the board, he's not going to pass on them. He can't. I mean, that's suicide for him.
Yeah.
And this is a spot too, right, where it's probably a prime trade down spot for the Giants to kind of help rebuild an offensive line a little bit. Um, yeah, there's also the joke going around right now that it's funny once, and now every single football creator is making it that Travis Hunter is going to be the receiver and cornerback on the same play with Jameis Winston there. But to your point, Trevor, like Travis Hunter is the very obvious. How can you not draft this guy pick right here?
Yeah, have to do it. To your point with Jaden Daniels last year, like if they even if they just traded down here, that's suicide.
Yeah,
like the fans are going to be so pissed off. Now, I've been projecting Travis Hunter to the Patriots with that new signing of Russell Wilson. Seems like Travis Hunter is not going to get there. Now the Patriots kind of have free reign to do anything. They had a huge need at wide receiver. They also just signed Stephon Diggs. I don't know if Diggs is going to be healthy for the start of the season, but I don't think they would go McMillan. I think this is too high for him. But they kind of have needs everywhere else. I don't think they go Genty, though. What's your guys' thoughts on going Genty super early? It feels... It just might be old school brain of me, but I can't see him this early.
I'm also in the same boat as you, where like drafting a running back high is kind of like high risk, high reward, right? Like unless you're like Saquon Barkley, like why would you go Genty as opposed to someone else in second, third round? I get Genty had like the greatest running back season of all time, but is he going to end up as Saquon Barkley? Probably not. It feels like you build up an offensive line and then you can get someone, anyone to run a hole. Not anyone, but you guys know what I'm saying. To me, it feels like offensive line here. But again, is Abdul Carter going to slide to 5? Like what even 6, even 7? Like what a steal for any of those teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think the further Carter slides, I don't, obviously he's not going to fall anywhere lower, much lower than this. But like, to your point about Genty or Abdul Carter, like Abdul Carter is the best player in this draft, and it's not close. So do you take a high risk, high reward with Genty, who you need to be Barkley to make it pay off, or do you take the best player in the draft, at pick 4 to 6? So I think as long as Carter and some of those guys and offensive linemen are on the board, Genty's going to be staying there.
Like we everyone in all GMs are like they're looking for the value in the draft. Abdul Carter at 4 is like some of the most incredible value like since Patrick Mahomes at 10.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I mean, if he slides to 4, obviously not much of a slide, but if he's at 4, there's going to be somebody offering the Patriots quite a bit
For sure.
So it's just like how far the Patriots move down. They could get a haul at 4. It's going to be interesting. But, I mean, you got Vrabel in there, first-year head coach for the team. He's coming in to completely bring back this Patriots defense. What better pick than Abdul Carter to start that?
Right.
You got Carter up front causing havoc. You got Gonzalez on the back end making plays. It seems like a great pick. I think that'd be a huge pick.
Just thinking back to to the New England dynasties, like as good as Brady, and he made that offense. Like the defense are the backbones of those teams. Like Vrabel was part of those.
Mm-hmm.
Defense wins championships, man.
Yeah, those defenses were extremely dominant. That's why I mean, talk about the greatest game manager of all time. That's what Tom Brady's been. Like just manage the game. Don't put your defense in a bad spot, and then you're going to be in a position to win it no matter what. And then, hey, you got Vinatieri, the best kicker of all time, making all the kicks at the end as well.
Yeah, same with the Buccaneers. Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh on the same defensive line. Good luck. Beat us.
No kidding. Jaguars, quite a bit of needs. I think the most obvious need and the most obvious player to go after here would be Mason Graham.
Yeah.
If you have like a stud 3 technique, you don't pass it up unless your name is the Atlanta Falcons in 2024 for some reason to go with Michael Penix. If all they did is draft a 3 technique at that spot last year, they would have been in the playoffs without a doubt in my mind. And then if they took an edge rusher, period, anytime, anywhere, at any time, they would have been in the playoffs. Jaguars, I think, have to go this route. My only doubt is you got the biggest clowns of all time making decisions there.
Right.
You got some weird offensive-minded guy calling plays, new head coach, and then the GM is some like TikTok guy. Like it just feels very weird. So it feels like they could go offense just to go offense, just to try to be exciting and hip.
Well,
But if you're making a football decision though, you have to go Graham, especially looking around the division.
On top of that, their owner, ever since he bought the team, all he's wanted to do is just get views on the team, right? They're the most team. I think the Jaguars have played the most overseas, like renovating a whole new stadium, everything. Like right? So it kind of feels like Ted McMillan is probably the guy that's going to do that. Maybe I mean they can't do it, Ashton Genty, but I don't think that's totally out of the cards. But Zach, I've told you this many times. I'm so in on defensive tackles, and maybe my new favorite position in football. Those are the guys that win you championships. Talking about defense, if you can fuck up a run inside, there's almost nothing that an offense can do to recover from that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a championship without Colin Jenkins and BJ Raji. So I mean that's one thing right there. And like you look at the top 4 picks, I mean Mason Graham is gonna fall to 5 most likely. I mean, when the draft falls to you like this perfectly, you don't ask questions. You see a thank you, you take the guy, and then you get out of there.
The difference between Mason Graham and some of these other D tackles, like talking about Kenneth Grant and talking about Nolan, stuff like that. Like, I'm not talking about a nose guard. I'm not talking about a nose tackle. I'm not talking about Colin Jenkins, BJ Raji with Mason Graham. Like, if you're running a 4-man front, and you can get that 3 technique, the guy who's going to line up on the guard and control both of those gaps on the outside. He's athletic enough to get outside. He's strong enough to play inside. Those in today's NFL are a complete rarity. There's not many Chris Joneses out there. There's not many players. I mean, Kenny Clark is one of those players. There's just not many of those. And when there's one there in the first round, you have to take it. And that's why, like, the Falcons still aren't given enough shit for what they did last year. It was absolutely embarrassing and just malpractice in the front office. Jaguars will probably do the same thing as the Falcons, but like if they're gifted Mason Graham, they have to take it. Like this is a pick legitimately the Patriots could make. Mason Graham could go there and Abdul Carter could be on the clock for the Jaguars, which would be insane as well. But I don't know. I think we have to go Graham here to me.
Yeah.
So I can sleep.
Yeah.
I think the next pick becomes easy, though. Well, I mean, maybe not. Raiders have every fucking need under the sun. But McMillan for the Raiders feels easy.
Agreed. Speaking of the Raiders, they got Geno Smith. How much of an upgrade is that over Aiden O'Connell / Gardner Minshew?
Massive.
I think massive, but it's still not
credit.
Not good.
It's not good, but I mean, with Pete Carroll there is fine. Geno isn't given enough credit for how much he covered up the mistakes of that offensive line last year.
Okay.
Like he got the ball out like that every single time. He had no chance the entire year. And he's hit almost every incentive in his contract.
Yeah.
And made the playoffs. Like he was good last year. He was, but now, I mean, what a massive, for how much should I give some of the pass catchers on Seattle in the past? Like now he walks into the Raiders. He's got
Bowers.
He's got 2 tight ends who are pretty good. He's got what's his name from the Patriots?
Jacoby Myers.
He's a stud. He's good. And then they got not much of anything. They got Trey Tucker, who's kind of a burner. Yeah. And truly, that's about it. So they need a big outside guy who's a legitimate threat to throw to, like McMillan. And then they can hopefully get like a slot guy underneath. We'll see. But I don't know. In my mind, McMillan's a good player here. I've seen a lot of people project Genty here. And yes, they have a running back need, but you don't put a great running back on a terrible team. That doesn't make sense to me. And then, yes, they need offensive line help per usual. You know?
Yeah, I think McMillan's a pick here. You get the playmaker. You get a guy that can help get some eyes off of Bowers, and you get at least, something the defenses have to plan for.
And I was telling you guys beforehand that, I think it's before we started streaming, everybody's mock draft is so different. You look at the ADP here for McMillan is 9. We're actually taking him ahead of what the average is. And I've seen people project McMillan as like the 3rd receiver off the board. I've seen him projected all the way down to 22. I've seen people with no wide receivers in the top 10. Like, I'm telling you, in the same way that quarterbacks are overdrafted, there's going to be a wide receiver in the top 10, whether you think they're good or they're not. Like,
Right.
someone's going to go there.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of Packers fans are saying something, are trying to say something about like, oh, Goody was the only person, I think it is pro day or whatever. Like, let's just cut that out right now. He's not getting there. There's no way.
Even
Right,
if you
like-
don't think McMillan is, a top 10 talent or whatever, the size alone is you can't scoff at.
Yeah, big, long, smooth. Like, he is. I think he is what everybody wants Drake London to be.
Right.
And Drake London's fine, but I think McMillan's a stud. And yeah, Goody's the only GM at the pro day. Maybe because he's not on the call list. He's not in the text group where it's the Raiders are saying, hey, he's not making it past 6. I can tell you that. So no need to even go.
Talking about a little fantasy football here with it feels like for like if you do a mock draft for rookie for dynasty right now, it feels like McMillan is probably the number 2 guy off the board behind Genty right now. Does this change if he goes to the Raiders? Does he slide to maybe like a 4 or 5 spot?
I think that would help him, but I think he could slide to 3 just depending on where Hampton goes.
Sure.
I think Genty and Hampton they're probably going to be 1 and 2, but yeah, McMillan's going to go to a place where he's used. Where's the worst place he could go? Is it the Jets?
I don't think so. Well, maybe.
Because not the best quarterback, and he'd be the number 2.
Yeah. What about the Saints?
Saints not great, but I mean, he has a legitimate shot to be the number 1 for 10 weeks of the year.
It's fair.
I think he's better than Chris Olave anyway.
Agreed.
Maybe the Bears?
If the Bears took him,
I don't think he's going to go there. I don't think he's going to go there, but it would be a Bears
it would
move.
be a Bears move. That would be bad. I agree with that. Yeah, maybe they would do that. Jets on the clock. Jets are interesting. I think they go offensive line, but I think they go the offensive lineman they shouldn't go, maybe. That feels like a Jets thing to do. If that's the case, and you have Will Campbell and you have Membu on the clock, Membu would be the one I would not want to take. He's too small.
They're gonna take Membu because they're gonna say that Campbell's arms are too small, while also drafting the tackle that is too small. That is a very Jets thing.
That's the theme of these offensive linemen in the first round and mostly this draft in general. Like, this is a weaker offensive line draft, but especially like everybody's too short. There's very few tackles that can, I think, legitimately play tackle consistently.
Yeah,
they're
there's
all
no
short or they have no length. Like, I love Gray Zabel. We'll talk about him more later. And he's 6'6". Like, he's got the size of everything, but then he's got stubby arms. And then he gets beat on the outside. Like, all these tackles have to play guard almost.
Yeah, there's no Tyler Guytons. There's no, who's my guy from the Eagles that won this year? Mekhi Becton. There's no Godzillas, right, in this draft.
I mean, Becton moved to guard for obvious reasons. He had the length, though. It's just he couldn't pick up his feet.
I think Membu's the guy here, personally.
Probably. Yeah. I do think they go offensive line. So then they have Olu, and then maybe they play Membu at guard on opposite of Elijah Vera Tucker, or maybe they have tackles of Olu and him. Who knows? Panthers on the clock. Panthers need pass rush in the absolute worst way. So if we're going edge rusher, Mike Green is the most polished. He's super good. Michael Williams is a little bit of a project, but he's good. And then for whatever reason, Pro Football Focus labels. I got to click edge off. Jalen Carter, though, as a linebacker, he's versatile, so he can move around a little bit, but he's an edge rusher. So if we're going best edge rusher available, it's either Jalen Walker or it's Mike Green, if we go that route.
I think this is a Mike Green situation, personally.
I think probably. I think we see back-to-back edge rushers, personally. I think if Mike Green goes here, I think Jalen Carter goes to the Saints, or vice versa.
Jalen Walker.
Yeah. Luke, do you have any thoughts?
I don't. I'm a James Pierce guy. Like I loved him, and maybe I didn't see enough of him to really get a full. But coming into college football season, I loved him. Doesn't feel like that. This is a pick here, so best available is fine.
James Pierce had a hell of a combine. Like, he tested super well. I don't mind him whatsoever. But sure, let's go. Mike Green here. Randy, what's up in the chat? We had Abdul Carter going to the Patriots at 4. So Vrabel's first pick is a good edge rusher. So Saints at 9 on the clock here. We'll give them Jalen Walker. Someone who can move around a little bit on that defense is probably smart. They need as many versatile guys as possible because they are still somehow in cap hell thanks to Sean Payton. It's pretty cool. Now, Bears on the clock.
Big pick for the Bears.
Big pick. I mean, Ben Johnson just saw what the Lions did with Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like this, if Genty's there, man.
Yep. I've never been more confident that they're taking Genty, even though they're paying Swift. And I'm not saying paying Swift is reading the loan to not take Genty. I personally would not do this. I would take other players, but I think the Bears are all in on running back, just having a massive offense and not caring about anything else.
Yeah. Bears still have quite a few good defensive players too. But like if they went like a Baron here, that could be scary on that defense, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels like because they just shored up the offensive line. They got 2 studs to come in, which pisses me off. Yeah, I think they run a 2 running back system. I'm not sure what Swift's contract situation is like. I'm not sure if they can get away from him. But Gentine Swift feels very possible.
Yeah, I agree. Is there any credence to going anywhere on defense here, just given the state of the very good offenses in the NFC North?
Possibly. They're not going to go linebacker, right? They could go corner, but they still have some studs at corner too. So Barron's in play just because of how good he is. He's better than Will Johnson, so they're not going to do that. I don't think they go edge rusher. I think they already got edge rusher figured out. Maybe they go Kenneth Grant just to stop the run, but it feels early.
Yeah.
Real quick, Luke, Damian Lillard has blood clots. He's out indefinitely.
Yeah,
really?
Since he, a little NBA talk here. Since Damian Lillard has gone to the Bucks, I bought tickets because I want to see Damian Lillard. I'm going on Friday, and the 2 games that I went to, he has not played, so I'm 0 for 3 on Damian Lillard now.
Attaboy.
He's by far my favorite player in the league, and I just want to see him in person, and I can't.
That sucks. Okay, let's go Genty here, and that would make that offense scary. It really would. I don't like that at all. Now, Niners, I feel very strongly about this. They have a need at corner, so they absolutely could go Barron, and I think that would be a rock star pick. However, they kind of have a need at right tackle, and I think Trent Williams is in his last year. I don't think that's a secret.
Yeah.
Like, I think they go Will Campbell. Will Campbell plays right tackle, and then he switches to left tackle in 2026.
Yep. Feel like a no-brainer.
He really does. Now,
here we go.
This one's tough because let's get into the mind of Jerry Jones. Money, exactly. If Genty is here, I could see him going, but they did just sign Sanders and Javonte Williams, so I think they are okay.
Miles Sanders?
Button. Yeah.
Missed that. Talk about 2 running backs that you would not want your team to sign.
I know, but they're cheap.
Yeah, I guess.
Cowboys don't spend money in free agency. But I think they're willing to hit the pause button at running back for this year. But now they have huge holes on the offensive line. Not only do they may need a tackle, but Zach Martin retired. So that's
interior offense lineman.
Yeah. So Zach Martin is the biggest deal of all time. But then they also need a wide receiver 2 in the worst way. And Matthew Golden feels like a Cowboy to me.
Yep, you nailed it on the head. Jerry Jones, I don't think he's ever going to go offensive line in the first round anymore. I think he's absolutely going wide receiver. I think, to your point, I think it's the guy from Texas or Ibuka, but I don't see him being a Cowboy. I think it's Golden.
Yeah, Matthew
right?
Golden.
Yeah, he feels like
Golden. I think it's Golden.
he feels like a burner they would want.
There's a lot of Odell Beckham and Luther Burden. You don't think Jerry Jones tries to recreate that?
I don't. I don't think Jerry has respect for a program like Missouri.
Fair.
I like Burden. Like, that's not even a shot at him. I'm not making a pick who I think's the best for the Cowboys here.
Fair.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to hear what you guys think. I just feel like receiver is the way they go. But I mean, there's reason to believe they say, "Hey, Barron, stay in Texas."
And Matthew Golden kind of feels like, right, he's a speed guy that goes probably a little too high. Like, he's kind of like a John Ross-ist. You know, I'm not going to say that Xavier Worthy is a bad pick, but he kind of feels Xavier Worthy-esque in a draft like this.
Yeah. Yeah, and they just saw Brandon Cooks, not that he was a threat over the past 3 years or anything, but he just went back to the Saints.
Jalen Coker doesn't do it for you?
No, not a lot.
Talk about a winding path to go from the Saints back to the Saints for Brandon Cooks. Holy shit.
And I don't know why, but I feel like he's going to go for 1,000 yards.
I mean, I think this is maybe our 5th or 6th year all together doing like draft stuff. Brandon Cooks being traded 3 years in a row where he had 3 1,000-yard seasons is still like one of the craziest things in NFL history.
Yeah, he was an absolute stud. So if we default to the Cowboys taking a receiver, do we want to go Golden? I think Burton, he might be the best. I think Ibuka is really good, but given no credit. But he doesn't feel like a Cowboy to me.
No, Jerry Jones, he is a huge Big 12, now SEC guy. Like Oklahoma, Texas, those guys, he wants them all.
Yeah, and speed's a big deal in Dallas. So, you put Turpin out there, you put Golden next to him, you have CD working underneath. That could be dangerous too. That could be fun. Let's see what they do. Now we go to the Dolphins, who, would it be surprising if they pass on offensive line again? No.
For Luther Burden?
Maybe, or another running back. But boy, they need offensive line in the worst way.
They do.
What do you guys think?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I see offensive line, maybe Barron, but he's the only one outside offensive line that I can see for them.
It's so weird. Like, I think someone could trade up for Barron. I'm just trying to see.
I don't
figure out where.
I don't know that Miami really has a huge, like, we have to get a corner, we have to get a defensive guy. Just given their division, like, other than the Bills, like, there's nothing crazy that really scares you in that division, right? So it kind of feels like, how can we make Tyreek Hill a 1,500-yard guy again?
I agree. And they just paid all this money to Tua. They have to try to protect him, you would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Tua's
talking about.
Got to protect himself, too.
Yeah, no shit. If there's no trades here, I feel like Barron's dropping to 17. I don't know about you guys.
You don't think that? I feel like Arizona. That's the team that I kind of have my head on, because their secondary was awful last year. But it is also Arizona, so that gives me pause.
Their secondary was bad. Their D line, I think, is worse. And I'm just thinking of division. Like, Niners are going to pound the rock. Rams are going to pound the rock. And Seattle probably has to try to pound the rock. I don't know. Like, at the moment, they don't have anything. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that when we get there, though. So if we go offensive line, again, what are the Dolphins going to do? I think Kevin Banks, all these guys really kind of are guards. I think Simmons has the best chance to play tackle coming off of an ACL injury. But he's solid. They probably need guard more than they need tackle. So
I think Simmons is a pick here.
You think Simmons? You think tackle over guard?
I do.
Okay.
I don't think it matters as long. I don't think Miami's ever going to take an offensive lineman from North Dakota State ever.
No.
Like that just, I don't think they even think that way.
In football sense, getting to the edge with stretch runs or, whatever edge runs, you got Devon Achane who can outrun everyone in the league. If you can get that seal on the outside, it feels, I don't know, it feels kind of like a pick here. That just makes me think that it's more tackle as a pick.
I just think they have tackle in place more. They still have Taron Armstead on the left tackle, and then right tackle. I can't remember who was playing that last year, but it's just interior rush. They just let everybody run free.
Okay.
Like Tua was just on his ass immediately. But I'm fine with going Simmons. Again, I don't think there's a true. I like these players here, but I don't know. I'm fine with tackle. Colts feels like the most Tyler Warren pick of all time.
Yep. Absolutely, you read my mind. There's no with the way their tight end situation has gone over the last 5 years, you cannot pass on this man.
This offense needs a tight end too to like operate. And Jelani Woods can't stay healthy or start healthy or be healthy ever. It's really pissing me off as a dynasty owner. So yeah, and Tyler Warren's a stud. He is a top 10 talent in this draft. What'd you say?
He can block too, given the Colts,
Yes.
need to get Jonathan Taylor to get 200 yards every single game to win games. Like, that's what they need.
Yes, they definitely need him. Now, Falcons on the clock. Do they go edge rusher finally?
Yes.
I think they go edge or linebacker. The way the owner talked to the GM last year after that Penix pick, I don't think there's any way he would dare to do that shit again.
I think they have okay linebackers at the moment. They still have, I think Ellis is still there. He's a stud. And they have somebody else. But edge rusher, they could go the kid from Georgia to keep him in state, Mikael Williams. That feels okay. Shamar Stewart would probably be the next best to me. And then going to Pierce. Otherwise, linebackers other than Campbell. I mean,
Chris Paul.
The Falcons are in a weird spot, right? Because like they should have been in the playoffs last year. Like if everything goes right, the Falcons are probably, a final 8 team in the NFL last year. In order to get that this year, like it feels like they're a little off. It kind of feels like someone that they need to start right away.
If you're the Falcons, do you trade your number 15 pick and Kyle Pitts to the Colts for Tyler Warren?
Yeah.
That could be a move.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate that. I think they have to go edge rusher, though. They were like dead last. It was the most obvious need in the league. At the trade deadline, it was the most obvious. They still didn't do anything. And then they were still knocking on the door to the playoffs. It was insane. And then you look at the division, it's like, yes, you can get after the Saints. Yes, you could get after the Panthers. Yes, you could get after Baker. But they just let them sit there and let Baker and Mike Evans go for 500. It was insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Edge for sure. Is there any credence to interior offensive linemen here?
I don't think so. I think they're still pretty solid away. Front.
Okay.
I think they're still pretty good, actually. They're one of the teams that like could take a pretty big jump up this year just because I think they do have a set offensive line.
Okay.
Washington's another one. Now that they made some moves, the Bears are another one since they made some moves. Yeah, I think the most obvious player here is Mikael Williams. The Falcons will Falcon, so maybe they go Pierce because of a big combine. Maybe they go Shamar Stewart because they think they can bring the best out of him. Maybe they like Landon Jackson because he has alopecia, or at least he looks like he does. I'm not sure. Haven't done that much research on that part. Yeah, I mean Charlie Villanueva lookalike basically.
Jordan Walsh, yeah.
Okay, so Cardinals. I think for sure defense. I think that's all I know. I think interior defensive line or corner, to your point, Trevor.
I was going to say, I didn't hate Trevor's idea of Barron.
Yeah. I think we'll go with him. Let's just talk through it. I think if it's corner, they would be foolish to go anybody but Barron. Will Johnson's good, but Jahdae Barron's insane. If they go interior D-line, I think they could go Kenneth Grant to stop the run there. I think Nolan's a clear step behind them, but I think they're both first-round guys. I'm not sure if Harmon is. But going up against Christian McCaffrey, Kenneth Walker, people like that, I think it's going to be they need to stop the run. But I'm fine with going Barron here. And then the Bengals now, they also need corner. They also need edge rusher, assuming they can't sign Trey Hendrickson.
I mean, and this is another one too, where you're going to get a guy to start that has to start right away. You just have way too much money in your receivers and quarterback, which is fine. They're all three good players, but you need to hit on picks now.
Yes. Have to. Absolutely have to.
So I think
It could go linebacker. I don't think so, though.
As far as defense goes, who's ever the most pro-ready who can make an impact right away, I think is a pick.
I mean, they need really bad help up front, whether it be edge rusher or interior. I think they need a lot of help. And then, you're playing in the AFC North as well. Like, if you can't defend the line of scrimmage, you're fucked.
I feel like this is a good Kenneth Grant situation for him, personally. I can see edge too, obviously with Hendrickson and everything, but I mean, you talk about pro-ready, James Pierce, great combine, but to your point, they can't miss. I think personally, Kenneth Grant for me is the most sure thing for a starter right away, but I'm not as in tuned on the defensive line as you guys are.
We'll see if they go interior defensive lineman, they better sign Trey Hendrickson, because if they don't, he was the sack leader last year, but let's not forget their other edge rusher starter retired. Like, if you lose both edge rushers, you lose an interior defensive lineman, you lose your defensive coordinator, your corners are bad. Like, the Bengals have no shot to win. No shot. I think they don't anyway, but boy, they need to figure out edge rusher, whether it be in the first round of the draft or signing people. I think it's easier to sign Trey Hendrickson than it is to
the draft replacement.
Yeah. Like, I think that's the easiest way to find an edge rusher, but so we'll go Grant. Seattle needs a lot of everything, offensive line and wide receiver especially. Now that they got rid of Lockett and DK Metcalf, obviously. If they go offensive line, Kelvin Banks makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think Zabel's a fit, personally. Connerly is more of a fit than Zabel is. Otherwise, wide receiver. I like Burden. I think he's more inside. I think him and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Oh, they got Cooper Kupp too. I forgot about that. So they probably need more of a bigger outside guy. So probably a Buka if we did that.
I don't hate Buka here.
Me neither. Pairing him with
they would.
You give Sam Darnold the big target.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah,
too.
I don't hate this.
I think that makes sense. Buccaneers need help on defense. Edge rusher, linebacker, I think are the two biggest ones. So I don't hate Campbell, to be honest.
Campbell feels like a buck to me.
Yeah, I mean, you think of Buccaneers, they're not going to pass up on a guy named Jihad. It's just not going to happen.
That's a good point. Now we're at Denver. To me, this feels like an Omarion Hampton situation.
God, I hope not.
Yep, absolutely.
I know you don't want that at all, but they haven't done anything at running back.
I want him to go the next pick, to be honest. But
yeah,
Omarion Hampton it feels like a Sean Payton running back.
He's good.
Yeah,
he's really good. Could be the best in the draft. Steelers are interesting. Their offensive line's probably set. Maybe they need a tackle, but running back, obviously, they need still.
Are we under the assumption that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love that.
At this point, what's the options? It's Steelers, Tennessee, and he hasn't visited or even talked about Tennessee.
Right.
I still think that would work, but
so that makes me just like, when you have Aaron Rodgers, if you really want to get to a Super Bowl with him, it kind of feels like offensive line depth needs to be bolstered. You got to keep Rodgers on the field.
Possibly, but that's what they've been drafting in the past 3-4 years. Like, I think their offensive line's fine now. They just don't have a running back, and all of last year they didn't have a slot. They tried to trade for Christian Kirk, couldn't get that done. Christian Kirk's now with the Houston Texans. Wilson, yes, from Michigan. Never could get healthy. He was supposed to be the slot guy. I think he's really good. He could be someone to really shock a lot of people for fantasy football this year. But if he's not that guy, I mean, Steelers don't miss on receivers. Hello, Luther Burden. Like, that would be interesting. Otherwise, like, I think Judkins is a first-round running back. Yep. I just don't know if he's this early. Like, I could see him with the Vikings. I could see him maybe with the Rams, maybe with Washington. It feels early, but I do think he's a first-round guy.
I respect Pittsburgh's whole system. Like I love receivers. I love that they can develop them so well. Pittsburgh is just the blue collar, kind of like the Packers a little bit, right? The blue collar mentality of put your hand in the dirt and let's get after it. This is not a pick where they panic that they are absolutely set on Amari and Hampton, but it feels like a lesser GM would panic and go with a running back right after Hampton to get their guy.
That's true.
A guy that I've watched that I don't think they're going to pick him, but to me feels like the Steelers could get the most out of him. Malachi Starks at safety. Again, I don't think they should take him or will take him, but I mean, if there is ever a perfect place for him to go, I think it's the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't know he could go there. He could go there. Do we want to do that? I honestly don't know.
It's best player
Steelers are so
available too.
confusing. True.
Best player available for a team that's probably gonna, at least is gonna gear up for a Super Bowl run.
I'm not convinced he's best available. Like, I don't think he's the best safety in this draft.
I don't think he's that great. I want to go out and say it. I think he's got a ton of issues. So I don't think he's the best available too. I don't even know if he goes in the first round, but I think if he does, this might be the place.
Yeah. Yeah, the other landing spot certainly feels like the team that just traded away CJ Gardner-Johnson and has a million Georgia players, the Eagles. And everyone's like, how did Starks fall all the way there? Even though he probably shouldn't be that high. The Eagles are going to get somebody good. We know that. We just don't know who or where necessarily. God, the Steelers are going to be begging to trade back. I know that. I don't know if they're going to get anyone to do it, but.
So I guess the question, let's assume they trade back. Who, if somebody's trading up to get here, who are they taking? Maybe a Luther Burden, maybe somebody who really wants a Will Johnson. But to me, if somebody's trading up to this pick, they really want James Pierce. They're in love with this combo.
I can tell you who's going to trade up. Hello, Green Bay. They're going to trade up 2 spots, and they're going to draft corner. They will go for Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky.
No. They're going to draft Malachi Starks and then change him to a cornerback because he's from Georgia.
That's possible. I know they like Harrison, who is significantly worse than Will Johnson.
Please don't draft Harrison Packers.
They like him. They definitely like him. They could go tackle. I'm fine with that. Luke said tackle. Let's go tackle.
Yeah.
Like, they do need depth.
Kelvin Banks.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think who would be. It'd probably be Banks. Zabel would fit there. It's not going to be Ursary. He can't move that well. Let's just go with Banks, I guess.
I also said tackle because if I was a GM and I didn't have a shot at like a quarterback like Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck, I would draft offensive lineman in the first round for like 50 straight years.
I agree. I mean, you're also the guy who played college football dynasty and put a tackle at tight end.
Yep.
99 overall. So, I mean, you can find other uses for him too. Okay. Chargers.
Burden.
I think they go Loveland.
Burden.
Yep.
You think Burden?
No. I don't think they're going Burden. I think they're going
in the 4 seconds that I thought about it, I would love to see Justin Herbert just throw bombs to Burden and see him make insane catches.
It'd be great. I don't know. I think, Burden's, in my mind, Missouri is not a respected school. They're not a big school really for football, but he's such a good player. Like this, he feels like a Ram.
I agree with that. I'm also probably biased because like I want to like Missouri. I don't know why. I've always had it. So anytime I see a good player come from them, I'm like, this is the guy. Like Michael Porter, I was so high on in the NBA. Dorial Green-Beckham, I think everyone's high on, but like, how could you not be? Their quarterback, whatever. Like, yeah, tight end is probably the pick here. I'm just falling in love with Luther Burden, man.
Is Michigan's second defensive interior lineman still available? Because if so, that seems like a Harbaugh pick. We need defense.
No, he took him with
Let's get one
Cincinnati.
of our guys. Okay. Yeah, then I think it's tight end.
Yeah. Otherwise,
is there
They could use Will Johnson potentially.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, is there any idea of Harbaugh just rebuilding his championship team in Michigan?
Yeah, that's why I don't mind Loveland. Like they needed tight end. Shout out Will Disley, but they need something different. And Loveland's solid. He's a good player. So let's go.
And if this is the tiebreaker for us, Harbaugh could work the name Loveland and do a lot of jokes, a lot of dad
That's
jokes.
true. That's true. We'll go him. Packers on the clock. They should go Will Johnson.
They're going to take the second best cornerback. You are correct. This is exactly how it's going to go. They're going to take that bastard from Kentucky.
I know. They should take Johnson, so maybe we should just project it, but they won't take him.
No.
This is where Will Johnson goes in drafts.
Yeah. I mean, he should. He's such a good player.
Not mock drafts, but in real drafts. Like this is. There's no better place for Will Johnson to go than right here.
Yeah. And hey, we drafted a player in the first round out of Michigan before. We've drafted players in the first round out of the Big Ten recently. Let's keep her going.
You know what's going to happen?
I don't hate James Pierce.
If we draft.
All right, sorry.
Can't do that.
If we draft that Kentucky guy, everybody's going to say somebody is going to say he's like if Randall Cobb played on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know who, but somebody's going to say.
I wrote up a thing about him already because there's some. I think Daniel Jeremiah projected him there. Like, I think his absolute peak, if he performs really well, develops well, I think he could be a cornerback too. Like he likes to hit, but he's not good at hitting, and he's too small. He's going to get injured right away, and he can't really cover very well. He doesn't have ball skills. He struggles to track the ball. Like he feels like the big.
That's a great bit.
He's a Packer. He is. And we like him, but boy, God, he's too skinny. He's Eric Stokes. Like that's what he is.
Doesn't matter. Well, yeah, we love Eric Stokes.
We do.
It's either him or Starks here. If we're going to be Packers, Starks is the second best safety. He's from Georgia. Why not change him somehow?
And we know that the team who drafts behind the Packers always hits a home run, and unfortunately, it's the
Vikings.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the Vikings.
And they're going to take Will Johnson. Absolutely.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's just project that because it feels too correct. Hairston, and then we'll go Johnson. Okay.
Yeah.
Texans, obviously, no digs. They did get Christian Kirk. Tank Dell is going to be out potentially the full year. He's out for a while. So I do think wide receivers on the board. However, their offensive line was one of the worst last year, and they traded away the only player who's okay.
Yeah.
So they need offensive line in the absolute worst way possible. God, they need to trade up for an offensive lineman. I think they can get Banks here.
Yeah.
But
they'll probably maybe trade up for a Pittsburgh's pick.
Yeah. I think they get Banks either here or they trade up or something. But yeah, that's very fair. I think they move. So yeah, I think they're okay going guard. I think they're okay going tackle. They just need absolutely everything on the offensive line. In my mind, Zabel is a Detroit Lion, so this is kind of tough for me. Like I think he's a Detroit Lion or a Los Angeles Ram, but he would fit with Houston.
Yep. So, as probably I'm going to guess a lot of people think this way. That like North Dakota State always has like a lineman projected high, right? Like there's always linemen from very small schools that are projected high, and I think that a lot of people think that all these guys are just the same exact player, which is not the case. But what sets Zabel apart?
Well, he I mean, I say he's not like anybody else, but he is a little similar to Tud Mauch for me. From a couple of years ago, who came into the league, projected as a tackle. I said he's a guard. He's playing guard for the Buccaneers, playing really well at guard. Zabel, again, he is 6'6", so a big dude on the outside, extremely athletic, but he has kind of stubby arms. Whenever he got beat on the outside, it was off the edge from good edge rusher, so I think he has to slide in. He has experience at every single position, snaps at every single position on the offensive line. He can learn it. He's extremely smart. He's a hard worker. He's just a good kid. Obviously, I know people from NDSU. I know there's some people on the staff. So whenever I talk about NDSU guys, I'm pretty confident what I'm saying. Farm kid, not a surprise, coming out of NDSU as a lineman. He feels like one of the safer offensive line picks in this draft. I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's going to be like destroy anything, but I think he's super safe. I think he's a plug and play starter, and he's a plug and play starter kind of wherever you want to do it.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
To sum it up nicely for you, Luke, all you need to know is his first name is Gray and he's from North Dakota State. Stud. All you need to know.
He is good. Where is he specifically from? Does it say that here? I don't remember. South Dakota. There you go. We'll just put him here. Like the Texans would be smart to get him. I just don't know if they would. Rams now. Rams have a lot of needs. They could go for a Higbee replacement if Loveland dropped here. They could go offensive line, defensive line, and linebacker are two big needs. D-back's a big need.
Yeah, I'd rather die than see Tyler Higbee not start for the Rams.
Fair enough. I mean, if he starts next year healthy, that's a pretty nice boost. He's solid. He's just always hurt. So Burden is certainly in play if they go receiver. Otherwise, I think Nolan's in play at interior D-line.
Is Burden a pick here just to fill the vacancy left by Cooper Kupp?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Huh?
It's don't even think about it, just replace.
Potentially.
Go ahead, Zach.
I will say they like Jordan Whittington, who was a rookie last year. He played really well in the absence of Kupp. And they're perfectly fine not drafting receiver early and hitting home runs. Like, I think if there's one thing the Rams are very good and confident in is finding that small school kid who just fits the system. So that would be my only thing where it's like they don't feel like they need to go receiver.
I guess in another sense too, right? The Rams, I mean, Cooper Kupp played, right? But basically made a playoff push and won a playoff game in realistic without Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. He didn't do much of anything last year. He was not good. So they don't need to go Burden. And I mean, we can just look at the receivers here and probably project who they're going to take if we look. They could potentially go Kyle Williams of Washington State. Nick Nash is a Ram. Are you kidding me?
Nick Nash is a Ram.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
God, he's good.
For me, I look at this. There's no way, at least in my opinion, I don't think, obviously, like GMs do all the time, but I just don't know how you can get gashed like you did against Philly and not go Nolan here, personally.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. And obviously, teams are now looking at the top. Like, we have to stop Philly. That's the goal now, whether it's stopping the tush push or just Saquon. So I think that's fair. They definitely need one other D tackle.
I like it. I like Walter Nolan too. I think he'd be a fine player.
Yeah. If there was better linebacker talent, they would really benefit from that.
Getting a solid nose 3-tech also helps kind of alleviate some pressure off of Jared Verse. So I like it. Yes.
Now, Ravens definitely need a guard. They had one leave. They did re-sign Ronnie Stanley, so they're good there. Looking at this, I like both Connerly and Booker. They're very different players. Connerly's more of a gap scheme. Booker's more of a zone scheme. There's just not enough guys here because I think the Chiefs need to get a guard. I think the Lions need to get a guard. And I think the Ravens need to get a guard. It just depends on when they do it. Those are the teams that are willing to trade up. So maybe the Steelers trade back here. Maybe a Buccaneer trades back. Maybe the Chargers trade back. I think one of these teams are going to move up to grab a guard, but that would be a big need for the Ravens for sure.
Given that this is the board at the Ravens spot, right? We talked about how there's probably not a ton of top talent offensive linemen in this draft, right? But come second, third, fourth, fifth round, it kind of feels like that there's some talent where some guys are pretty similar to each other. Is this a spot where the Ravens, do they have the liberty to wait till then?
Maybe. The other big need the Ravens have is edge rusher, and that's kind of deep in the first two rounds. So I think they're fine waiting and then just taking best available between guard and edge.
Yeah.
And just being fine with it. And honestly, Lions may be similar in that fashion.
I guess either way, just given the Ravens' offensive where they have to run the ball like 40 times a game, you're probably going to need offensive lineman depth here. So
yeah, they need a starter. They need it.
Yeah.
They need at least one more. Even like Fayalale is the other guard. People aren't talking about him because of what Mekhi Becton did, but the Ravens quite literally did the exact same thing and had essentially the exact same result with him. He's a 6'8", 6'7" guard who can't move his feet, and I don't think he's very good. I don't think Mekhi Becton's very good, but they are big and they're powerful and they move space. So I don't know if they're wanting to replace him or not, but they for sure need one guard. But I'm fine with going guard. I'm fine with going Shamar Stewart. I think they go one of the two.
I think guard here, also because I don't think they do it, but I also really want to see Luther Burden somehow fall to the Chiefs again. I think that'll be very funny.
True. I'd like to see the Chiefs just try to pass on it. I don't know if they could. Let's go. Yeah?
Go ahead. I'll talk about the Ravens after because it has nothing to do with the draft.
Okay. I think they kind of run a combo scheme, which is kind of annoying here. I think I'll go with Tyler Booker. I think he's a little better player. He's more of a zone scheme guy, but he's solid.
Maybe it's my bias here, my love for Lamar Jackson and my love for being like 17 to 22 again, where didn't really have any responsibilities and watching football all the time. But DeAndre Hopkins going there feels like an awesome pickup.
Yeah. We just got to see DeAndre Hopkins healthy again.
Yeah.
I mean, he played all of last year with a torn MCL, and it was very, very obvious.
Yeah.
And people are giving him no slack for it. But yeah, he was not good. So if he can bounce back at all, it's going to be huge for them.
Yep.
And I think he will too. I think he's going to be fine. Okay. Lions. It's kind of interesting to see that their top needs a receiver by Pro Football Focus.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm not sure if it's in their top 10. So I'm not.
It might not even be in their top 20.
Like, I don't get it. I don't know what they're doing. They need a guard. Kevin Zeitler left to Tennessee, I believe.
Yes.
Edge rusher, obviously, they need to pair somebody with Aiden Hutchinson. Linebacker is what they're saying. I don't know.
I think the question is, who's the biggest dog that's available? Is Pierce have that in him? Because if so, with the combine, that would seem like a Dan Campbell guy. But if not, I can see him drafting like a Shamar Stewart or Boston College guy.
I would say Shamar Stewart over Pierce.
I think an edge here that has mobility that can kind of run quarterbacks down from the edge, right? Like with Caleb Williams and Jordan Love in the division, those guys aren't runners per se, but they can move around in the pocket and extend plays. I think to shut that down, it's probably a good idea here.
Landon Jackson kind of feels like it's too early for him. He feels like a Dan Campbell guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember his
Hey, Dan Campbell takes guys early.
He does. If you remember his high school, there was like a high school drill. He was slapping the bags. He was doing that, and then he did it again at the combine or whatever. He was the one who went viral for that clip. He's an athletic freak. He just needs someone to get the most out of him. He needs to be developed a little bit. And if if the offense is keying their protection on Aiden Hutchinson, which they obviously are, I mean, he could be productive. Shamar Stewart's also in the same.
I was gonna say that being said, Shamar Stewart.
He had more sacks than I thought. Or no, he didn't. 2. Okay, yeah, 2 sacks each of his 3 years. He just wasn't productive, and I don't think anyone has the answer. But I think he's a good player. Like I just can't explain. Like he does everything except for sack the quarterback. Almost a little bit of Rashawn Gary's symptoms, but Rashawn Gary also doesn't do much good. So I do like Stewart.
Yeah, I think Stewart. Yep.
Let's take him then. Yeah.
Washington could do running back. I think their offensive line's good now. And then, I mean, they're kind of pouring in all of their assets on offense. And now they kind of just need to draft defense.
Defense for sure.
I think this is a Starks landing spot, or it's a how do you pronounce his last name? Jesus Christ. Amanawari. who I think is probably the best safety in the draft, and he destroyed the combine. He was ridiculous. Like, I think they could go safety.
I think this is Emmanuel place. I think they're. I truly think Starks falls in the
Did
draft.
they did
I don't like it.
6'1".
did Washington lose John Allen?
No, I think he resigned. I will say with Emmanuel, we know head coach's name. What's his name? For Washington.
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. He likes his big safeties. And this guy would fit the bill. Like, I mean, just think about that Legion of Boom defense, thinking about those athletic, huge safeties.
Yeah.
Like, he could wreak havoc. I think he could be fun. Honestly, I would love to see him next to Kyle Hamilton on Baltimore, selfishly. But yeah. Buffalo. They're weird. They do need corner. They just signed Joey Bosa. Does that mean their edge rusher, their pass rush is fixed? I don't know.
What does Joey Bosa bring that Von Miller didn't last year?
I don't know.
Right.
Like, I don't know how to project Joey Bosa. I don't remember the last time I saw a Joey Bosa highlight.
Right.
Like I don't know. I feel like he's massively unproductive.
Yeah, I like James Pierce here.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. He does feel like a Bills guy too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think they could go interior D-line still. Probably too early for some of these guys. It would be Derek Harmon. Do they take another swing at wide receiver?
Well,
like, that's possible. In my opinion, they missed last year. I don't know how you guys feel
on Keon Coleman.
Here's my thought. They are scared shitless of the Chiefs right now, as they should be. I think this is a spot where they would panic and take Luther Burden.
I forgot about Burden. He's interesting.
Like if you are the Bills, the last thing you can do is miss on him again. He goes to the Chiefs or the Eagles, and he does well. Like that, you can't lose to the Chiefs 3 times in the draft.
I agree 100% with you on that, Trevor. I agree. Plus, they lost Mac Hollins.
Mari Cooper, even though he did nothing.
Even still, like Buffalo is, I guess Stephon Diggs had a couple good years there. But just given what Josh Allen does, like, is there really a need for a superstar number 1 receiver there?
No, but yes and no. Like, they just need somebody who you can go to.
Who can be a threat.
I think Shakir has proven he can be the go-to third down guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's a go-to red zone option.
Yeah.
I don't think Burden's that either. But that's what they were hoping Amari Cooper would be. And then I truly don't know what happened with Amari Cooper. Like, they just didn't even use him. So I'm not sure. They need a big outside guy. It's good.
I feel like we say that every year for the Bills, but as we say this every year too, like, the Bills' red zone guy is Josh Allen.
Yes, but it doesn't work if you're at 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5.
I guess unless he throws touchdowns to himself again.
Possible. That is possible.
Amari Cooper, there you go. That's what he did. He threw a touchdown to Josh Allen.
True. Maybe they just need another quarterback then. Oh, fuck. I don't know why I even didn't think about that. You know who the Steelers would have taken? They probably would have taken Jackson Dart.
Maybe actually.
Yeah, I honestly think they would have. Which would have moved Banks down for possibly the Rams, possibly for the Ravens. Then there would have been another offensive lineman available, but whatever. Who cares? Let's just go Burn here just because I agree with your thinking with the Chiefs. Chiefs got to go offensive line.
I have to.
They have. And Connerly fits. I don't think he's a tackle. I think he's a guard, but he fits that gap scheme a little bit. And then I think Starks is an Eagle.
Yep, you nailed that on the head. We talked about it 10 picks ago. What's going to happen?
They just traded away CJ and they have all these guards. So it just makes sense to me, and I guess they're grading this. I don't know. But
we need to clip this because I have a good feeling that this could be very close to what happens.
It's possible. What happens if I click this? Oh, visual search. What's going on? Okay. I don't hate this. I don't mind this. I do like the top 10 pretty strongly. I think Green and Walker could get flipped either direction. But if this stayed the same, I think, or even just the order of the players, not necessarily the order of the teams, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what the draft odds are when they come out in terms of like first wide receiver taken, wide receivers in the first 10, stuff like that. Because if we still get all of these weird ass mock drafts, I wonder what kind of odds we're going to get at McMillan being the first wide receiver off the board.
Yeah. That's not going to get fucked up with Travis Hunter, is it?
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Okay. What's this? Awards? Huh. Okay. I want to do one really quick, just maybe as a teaser for when I do the mock draft in a little bit. Because I'm putting it together, so I'm just going to go through my thoughts really quick.
Yeah.
Just like a gut reaction. So I would go Cam Ward, Shadur to start. Obviously the same again. Giants, I think will probably go Travis Hunter, Patriots, Abdul Carter, like we talked about. And Mason Graham has to go there. McMillan's going to go there. The Jets are weird. I do think they go offensive lineman, the wrong one. I feel like the Panthers have so much of a need on the defensive side of the ball where they need somebody more versatile like Jalen Walker. But then Mike Green can go to the Saints. They need some sort of edge rush there. Genty, Will Campbell, I like both of those. Cowboys, I have no idea still. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to go Golden. Do you guys have any other thoughts about the Cowboys? I just don't have a read on Jerry Jones right now.
Offensive line always feels like a pick for Jerry Jones, but no.
Yeah, they should. They
given
should.
That,
I just don't know if
just given
will.
that there's so much money wrapped up in Dak Prescott.
So much money, and I mean, their offensive line's in shambles. There's no two-way about it. Like a Hall of Famer just left their team.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's hard to do. Dolphins, then I'm going to give them Kelvin Banks as more of a guard, and then Tyler Warren's already in Lucas Oil, I feel like. For the Falcons, I think it's the same pick. I feel like they're getting the Georgia edge rusher. I think I like interior defensive line for the Cardinals. Their whole thing has been to build up the trenches, and you've seen it on offense. It's working. I think they're just going to do that on defense. Bengals need a secondary help in the worst way. I think they're going to go Barron. I think there's ties there a little bit as well. Seahawks again are fucking, I don't even know. Seahawks could go. I mean, they got a defensive head coach, so they could go with a Shamar Stewart potentially. Or they could do a smart thing and go offensive line. I'll give them Simmons. They need offensive line. No, can I replace it? I don't think I can. Fuck. Okay, I should have gone to Buka.
Okay.
I think at Buka. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Jayad, Trevor's point, he has to go there. Hampton's already a Bronco. I think the Broncos could move up to draft Genty or Hampton as well. I think they're a team willing to move.
Okay.
Steelers, I think, is a Jackson Dart situation. I really do. Completely forgot about that. And they rank him so low. He was like the 5th or 6th quarterback there. Chargers, Loveland, Packers are the worst. God. This would piss off Packer fans too if we saw Buka there and we're like, we want Hairston. what the Vikings could do as well. We went Will Johnson last time, and I don't hate that pick because they need cornerback. I think this is probably Harrison Smith's final year as well. So they could go a Starks or a Monery or whatever the other safety.
Take Stark. See what the board comes out to be.
Yeah, I don't hate that. They need DB regardless. Texans need offensive line, and they need wide receiver though. Now that they don't have Diggs, I would go with Buka. Like if we're replacing Diggs.
Yeah, Nico can work the middle and Buka can work deep.
Yeah, and Christian Kirk can be the slot. It was just a collarbone injury, so he should be fine to go. And then we'll just see Stroud get the crap kicked out of him probably. Rams will give them Will Johnson here because they do need cornerback help. The Ravens could use offensive line help. They could use edge rusher help. God, Zabel does feel like he feels like the new Kevin Zeitler.
Okay.
Someone also is going to get a decent tackle on Donovan Jackson later on as well. Probably more of a right tackle, but we'll give the Ravens.
Give it Shamar.
Yeah. We'll give the Ravens Shamar. We'll give the Lions Greg Zabel. We'll give Washington that safety again. Or I'm not sure if we did it last time or not, but I think, yeah, we did. Manawari is going to go there. The Bills, God, they're going to screw it up.
Always.
Burden's too good of a pick. I mean, okay, you know what? Let's be realistic with all of this. They're going to go James Pierce. The Chiefs will go Burden, and we're like, you need an offensive lineman. What are you doing? And then who's the best player available? Did the Eagles traded for one of the Texans guards, and he's going to be good. I can't remember which one. So they don't need Connerly, even though he could come in and play really well there. I mean, they just lost Josh Sweat.
Yeah. Did they didn't lose one of the interior guys, did they? Jalen Carter or
they lost
Jordan
Milton.
Davis?
No, they didn't lose them. They lost Milton Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Who got a bag from New England. Caleb Johnson, I'm excited to see where he goes to. He's
agreed.
We'll give the Eagles. Who's the next best safety? Xavier Watts. We'll go. What's his name? Landon Jackson. How about that? Eagles are going to trade up for somebody stupid. Like, I don't know why he's there. I mean, they would trade up with the Chiefs or somebody for Burton and get him.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is going to be a super interesting draft. Every year we talk about how there's going to be a million trades, and maybe it's a little too early, but nobody's talking about that really. Other than top three.
It feels like there has to be trades, right? Because there's no way that every team like uses their first overall pick or their first round pick. But I think that's a really interesting storyline coming is that right now everyone has their first round pick.
It's super interesting because there's teams that maybe like the Rams, maybe they're comfortable like, hey, we don't need a first round pick.
Right.
We're good. So we'll see some team trade to double up in the first round, and the Rams could trade for like a 2 third-round pick, like a second, or like 2 third-round picks and a future first or something.
Yeah.
Like we could see something like that. Rams are where? 26. Especially if Will Johnson's there. Like Rams are not scared to trade back, and somebody's going to be willing to trade for Will Johnson. Probably the Eagles. Just because. I don't know. I think this is going to be a really fun first round of the draft. I think this is going to be a really fun draft in general. It's deep from like 16 to like 42 are kind of all the same player. So that's going to be fun. And on FlurrySports.org, we're going to have a bunch of draft profiles up. So all of those players, truthfully, like through that top 40, we should have covered for you, possibly a little bit more. Let us know what other draft coverage you want to see. We kind of want to do more dynasty stuff. So if you want to see more player analysis in terms of dynasty fantasy football, let us know, and we can talk to you about sleepers. We can talk to you about dynasty draft pick value right now. I think that's an interesting conversation to have. And also best landing spots for these dynasty players and what Travis Hunter is going to be for dynasty as well, because that's a very big conversation that I am excited to have.
Yeah.
Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I mean, it's a good time for sports right now, right? We got college basketball going on. We have NBA and NHL is going to hit playoffs very soon. But probably like maybe other than playoffs, like this is probably the best time for NFL, right? Like right before the draft, it's a lot of fun. As you know, as always, like kind of like fantasy football gearing up for drafts, it's the most fun part of the season. But seeing where new guys go, it's always great. So I'm excited for the next month or so here.
And if you're in Dynasty and you can trade for draft picks right now, pay attention to pro days.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of pro days happening right now. There's a lot of information that's going to be had. We are just about to enter the true smokescreen season. So there's going to be so many lies said about everybody. There's going to be some player who kicks babies and trips dogs and does stuff like that. Then there's going to be some player who like promises their first paycheck to a homeless guy. And they're going to do all sorts of lies. But pro days, just trust what you can see. We just saw Restrepo crawl a 4.8, and boy, that's going to tank his draft stock. Like, there's no shot. So if you liked him, like he might be in your like a third round rookie pick,
right?
And you may be okay with that. Like, and you're just looking at your players and like, do I like Parker Washington or do I like Restrepo more? And you can trade your players and stuff like that for third round picks right now. Now is the time where you can really get a lot of value. You're guessing, but you can get a lot of value for players.
I'll say too, I've said it the last 2 years, but like if you go like 5 rounds in a rookie draft in Dynasty, those picks matter. Like 2 years ago, I drafted Puka Nacua in the 5th round, and it's been incredible. So like there's players that hit. Don't just give up 5th rounders for nothing.
I think I drafted Bucky Irving in the 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
And then flipped him for a 2nd, which is also a thing too. Just Dynasty stock market. Draft somebody low, trade them once they start popping off. Was that a good trade? Probably not. Who knows? Because he's a good player, but immediately got value back. Never know. But yeah, let us know what Dynasty content, what draft content, because we would like to do a lot of it this year. And like this, share it, comment, helps the algorithm, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Peace.